If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Sharing it with your friends and family helps spread knowledge, and when we help others grow, we grow too. Thank you so much for listening. Let's dive into the podcast. A hidden signal from the sky. The screens flickered with data streams that made no sense. Deep inside a classified Pentagon facility, analysts stared at readings that shouldn't exist. Their most advanced spy satellite had caught something strange while scanning the Romanian mountains. It was March 2003. The satellite was doing routine work, mapping terrain and watching for threats. But when it passed over the Bucegi Mountains, everything changed. Energy signatures appeared on the screens like ghostly fingerprints. The reading showed something massive, hidden beneath tons of rock and earth. Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Mitchell was the first to notice. She had spent 15 years reading satellite data. She knew what mountains looked like from space. This was different. The computer showed a perfect geometric structure buried deep underground. It was bigger than a football stadium and shaped like nothing nature could create. Her supervisor laughed when she showed him the readings. "Equipment fails sometimes," he said. "Satellites break. Software glitches happen." But Mitchell ran the scan 3 more times. Each time, the same impossible shape appeared on her screen. The structure gave off energy unlike anything they had seen before. It pulsed with a steady rhythm, like a heartbeat made of light. The readings suggested walls so smooth they seemed like mirrors, and there were chambers inside chambers, arranged in patterns that hurt to think about. Word spread quickly through the intelligence community. Within hours, phone calls were made to people who had no official names. Files were marked with security levels that didn't appear in any manual. The satellite data was copied. Then the copies were locked away. Mitchell was told to forget what she saw. The readings were classified beyond her clearance level. She was transferred to a different project the next morning. When she tried to access the files again, they had vanished from the system. But the discovery couldn't be buried so easily. Other satellites began scanning the same area. Each one found the same impossible structure. The energy readings grew stronger, as if the chamber was responding to being watched. Romanian officials knew nothing about what lay beneath their mountains. Geological surveys had mapped the region for decades without finding anything unusual. Yet now, American technology revealed a secret that had remained hidden for centuries, perhaps longer. The questions multiplied faster than answers. How had such a massive structure stayed hidden? What kind of energy could penetrate miles of solid rock? And why were the readings getting stronger each day? Breaking the invisible barrier. The Romanian military had tried everything. Drills broke against the mountain. Explosives left no mark. Even their most advanced equipment failed completely. The invisible wall that protected the chamber seemed to mock every attempt. Then someone remembered Officer Marin Dragoshin. He worked in the intelligence division, but everyone knew his secret talent. Marin could sense things others could not. He felt emotions from across rooms. He knew when people lied before they spoke. The military had used his gifts before, though they never spoke of it officially. When Marin first approached the chamber entrance, his face went pale. He stepped backward as if hit by a physical force. His hands trembled as he described what he felt. "It burns without heat," he whispered to the team. "Something alive guards this place. It watches us right now." The scientists checked their instruments again. They detected nothing unusual, but Marin clutched his head and stepped away from the invisible barrier. Whatever protected the chamber, it recognized his presence. For 3 days, Marin studied the energy field. He would approach slowly, then retreat when the pressure became too intense. Each time, he learned something new about the force that blocked their path. He began to understand its rhythm, like a heartbeat in the mountain. "It thinks," he told the commanding officer. "This barrier has intelligence. It decides who passes and who dies." Other team members had tried to breach the field. 2 soldiers collapsed with severe burns, though their skin showed no marks. A technician lost consciousness for 6 hours. When he woke, he could not remember his own name for days. But Marin was different. The energy recognized his mental abilities. It tested him instead of destroying him. Like 2 beings having a conversation without words, they began to communicate. On the 4th morning, Marin walked directly to the barrier. The air around him shimmered with heat that sensors could not measure. His breathing became labored, but he did not stop. The watching soldiers held their breath. Then something extraordinary happened. The mountain itself seemed to exhale. A sound like distant thunder rolled through the tunnels. The invisible wall that had stopped every machine and weapon simply opened. Marin stumbled forward, blood trickling from his nose. Behind him, the barrier sealed again instantly. He was now alone inside the chamber, the first human to pass through in perhaps thousands of years. What he found waiting in that ancient space would shake the foundations of everything the world believed about history, power, and the true nature of human existence. Secrets in the holographic sanctuary. The first step inside changed everything. The air itself felt different, charged with an energy that made their skin tingle. Dr. Radescu's flashlight beam hit the wall and scattered into 1,000 points of light. The chamber was alive. What they found defied every law of physics they knew. The walls pulsed with a soft blue glow that seemed to come from within the stone itself. But these weren't ordinary walls. As they approached, images began to form in the air before them. Holographic figures materialized without warning. Not fuzzy projections like modern technology creates, but perfect 3-dimensional beings that looked real enough to touch. The explorer stepped back in shock. These weren't recordings. The holograms responded to their presence, turning to look at them with ancient eyes. The beings appeared human, but different. Taller, with elongated skulls and features that suggested intelligence far beyond ordinary humans. They moved with purpose through scenes that made no sense. The holograms showed laboratories where these tall figures worked with strands of light that pulsed like living DNA. Dr. Radescu watched in amazement as the light strands twisted and changed. The beings were manipulating genetic material in ways that modern science could barely imagine. They were creating something new, creating humans as we know them today. The implications hit him like a physical blow. Everything they taught in schools about human evolution might be wrong. These ancient beings had shaped humanity from the beginning. The missing links that scientists searched for weren't missing at all. They were hidden here, in this impossible chamber beneath the Romanian mountains. More holograms appeared, showing star maps with flight paths between distant worlds. The tall beings traveled through space as easily as walking from room to room. They had visited Earth countless times, bringing knowledge and technology that built the Great Pyramids and carved the massive stone blocks of ancient ruins. But why hide this knowledge? The answer came in the final hologram. It showed modern humans in suits and ties, meeting in secret rooms. These men pointed at images of the chamber, while shaking their heads. They feared what the truth would do to their power. The chamber preserved everything. Every secret technology, every genetic experiment, every star map that connected Earth to worlds beyond imagination. Ancient civilizations had left this gift for future generations to discover. Yet powerful groups worked to keep these secrets buried. They understood that this knowledge would change everything. No more questions about human origins. No more wondering if we are alone. The answers were here, waiting. Dr. Radescu realized they weren't just explorers anymore. They were witnesses to the greatest cover-up in human history. Shadows behind the throne. The phone call came at 3 a.m. A Romanian official sat in his dark office, listening to a voice that spoke perfect English with no accent he could place. The voice was calm, almost friendly, but the words chilled him to the bone. "We know about the chamber," the voice said. "We've always known." Within hours, black cars filled the streets of Bucharest. Men in expensive suits walked into government buildings as if they owned them. They carried no badges, showed no papers, yet every door opened for them. Something had changed the moment those strange holograms lit up deep beneath the Bucegi Mountains. The discovery was supposed to be Romania's secret, but secrets have a way of traveling to the wrong ears. For years, Romania had knocked on NATO's door. For years, the answer was always no. Too poor, they said. Not ready, they claimed. The excuses never ended. Then came the chamber. Within weeks, everything flipped. Suddenly, Romania was NATO's newest member. The votes came fast, almost suspiciously fast. Politicians who had opposed Romania for decades now praised the country's readiness. Money flowed in. Trade deals appeared overnight. But nothing is free in this world. The same week Romania joined NATO, strange accidents began happening. Scientists who had worked on the Bucegi project found their research funding cut. Some received job offers in distant countries they couldn't refuse. Others simply vanished from their posts, leaving only empty offices and cleaned-out desks. Dr. Petrova, who had been studying the chamber's energy readings, packed her bags for a sudden research opportunity in Antarctica. Her replacement knew nothing about the project. The new scientist's first order was to seal the chamber's entrance with concrete. Meanwhile, in Switzerland, an exclusive group of the world's most powerful people held their annual meeting. They gathered in a lakeside hotel where no cameras were allowed and no reporters could enter. The guest list remained secret, but whispers spoke of oil executives, tech billionaires, and former presidents. This year's agenda had one item that hadn't appeared before: the Romanian situation. 3 men sat at a polished table, speaking in low voices. One wore a Rolex worth more than most houses. Another carried a briefcase that never left his side. The third man's face remained hidden in shadow, but his words cut through the room like ice. "The chamber changes everything," he said. "Either we control it, or we bury it so deep that it never sees light again." The ancient network revealed. The discovery in Romania was just the beginning. What seemed like one secret chamber soon revealed itself as a single door in a house with many rooms. Intelligence sources began whispering about similar findings thousands of miles away. In Baghdad, teams had found something almost identical. The same strange energy fields, the same protective barriers that made equipment fail, the same ancient technology that nobody could explain. But here's where it gets really strange. The chambers weren't just similar, They were connected. Deep beneath the earth, tunnels stretched across continents like veins in a body. These weren't natural caves or man-made mining shafts. They were something else entirely. Perfectly smooth walls that seemed to bend light itself. Passages that ran straight for impossible distances without any support beams or structural reinforcement. The network was vast. Reports trickled in from Egypt, where archaeologists working near the pyramids had stumbled upon entrance points that led into the same tunnel system. In Tibet, monks spoke in hushed tones about sacred caves that connected to pathways stretching far beyond their mountain home. Each discovery raised more questions. How could ancient civilizations have built such a network? The engineering required would challenge even modern technology. Yet these tunnels predated known history by thousands of years. The most unsettling reports came from teams who had ventured deeper into the system. They described chambers that defied physics, rooms where gravity seemed different, spaces where time itself felt stretched and strange. Some tunnels led to places that shouldn't exist, vast underground cities with their own light sources, caverns so large they had their own weather systems, areas where the very air hummed with an energy that made sensitive equipment go wild. The shadow government's interest suddenly made perfect sense. This wasn't just about one chamber in Romania. This was about a global infrastructure that had been hidden beneath our feet for millennia. What had these ancient builders been trying to accomplish? Were the tunnels meant for travel, for communication? Or were they something far more extraordinary? Gateways between worlds. Bridges across dimensions we barely understood. The deeper investigators dug, both literally and figuratively, the more the Earth itself seemed to be keeping secrets. Secrets that powerful people would kill to protect. The monatomic gold and the battle prophecy. The scientists who first entered the chamber spoke in hushed voices about something extraordinary. Hidden among the ancient artifacts lay vials containing a substance that defied everything they knew about matter itself. This substance appeared as fine powder, pale gold in color. Yet when examined under the most advanced equipment, it behaved like nothing ever recorded. The atoms seemed to exist in a state between solid and spirit. Laboratory tests revealed properties that made even hardened researchers question their understanding of reality. Ancient texts called it the food of the gods. Medieval alchemists spent lifetimes seeking this very substance, believing it could grant eternal youth and perfect health. Now, locked away in a Romanian mountain, proof of its existence sat before modern eyes. The first volunteer test subject was a terminally ill researcher who had nothing left to lose. Within days of consuming microscopic amounts, his cellular regeneration accelerated at impossible rates. Tumors shrank, gray hair darkened, skin regained the texture of youth. But the chamber held more than miraculous healing compounds. Deep within its crystalline walls, another discovery waited. Carved symbols told of a coming war, unlike any in human history. The prophecy spoke of a poisonous hydra with countless heads. Each time one head was cut away, two more would grow in its place. This creature represented forces that had manipulated humanity from shadows for centuries. Banking systems, media networks, pharmaceutical empires, and political machines all served as the Hydra's many heads. According to the ancient warning, this beast would attempt to poison the entire world. Not with venom, but with lies, fear, and substances designed to weaken human consciousness. The goal was simple: a population too sick and confused to resist total control. The Chamber's guardians had prepared for this moment. They had preserved not just healing substances, but knowledge of how to fight back. The monatomic gold was meant to strengthen chosen individuals, enhancing their natural abilities and extending their lives far beyond normal limits. These enhanced humans would serve as humanity's champions in the final battle. Their improved consciousness would see through deception. Their extended lifespans would allow them to plan across generations. Their healed bodies would resist the poisons being spread through food, water, and air. Scientists studying the chamber began to understand why so many powerful organizations wanted it destroyed. The knowledge within threatened to expose centuries of careful manipulation. The substances could heal what they had worked to make sick. The war had already begun. Most people just didn't realize they were fighting for their lives. Psychic warfare and covert conflicts. The discovery changed everything. Within months of the Bucegi Chamber revelation, strange new departments appeared in government buildings around the world. These units had no official names. Their budgets were buried in classified files. Their agents carried credentials that opened doors, but answered no questions. Sarah Chen had worked in intelligence for 15 years before she first heard the whispers. Remote viewers who could see through walls, mind readers who could extract secrets without torture, people who could move objects with their thoughts alone. She laughed at first. Then she met Project Mindbridge. The briefing room had no windows. The walls were covered in a metallic mesh that supposedly blocked psychic intrusion. Sarah's new handler, a thin man who called himself Mr. Gray, spoke in measured tones. "The chamber revealed technologies we don't understand," he said, "but others understand them very well. We're fighting a war now, Agent Chen. The battlefield exists in dimensions we can barely perceive." Sarah's first mission seemed impossible. Track down a woman named Elena Vasquez, a former physics professor who had vanished from her laboratory in Prague. Security footage showed Elena walking through solid walls moments before she disappeared. The footage was real. The trail led to a psychiatric hospital outside Bucharest. Elena sat in a white room, staring at nothing. When Sarah approached, Elena's head turned slowly. Her eyes were completely black. "They're coming," Elena whispered. "The ones who built the chamber. They want their technology back." That night, Sarah's hotel room filled with a presence she couldn't see. The temperature dropped 20 degrees. Her laptop screen flickered with symbols that hurt to look at. She grabbed her gun. But how do you shoot something that exists only in your mind? The phone rang. Mr. Gray's voice was tense. "Get out, now! The opposition found you!" Sarah ran through empty corridors as doors slammed shut around her. Elevators moved between floors that didn't exist. She reached the stairwell and found herself back on the same floor she'd started from. Someone was playing with reality itself. 3 floors up, she glimpsed her pursuers. They moved like shadows, wearing suits that seemed to absorb light. One pointed at her, and Sarah felt her thoughts being read like pages in a book. Her training meant nothing here. She escaped only because Elena appeared in the hallway, her form translucent. "This way," Elena said, pointing to a wall. They walked through it together. Outside, Elena's blackened eyes returned to normal for a moment. "The war isn't between countries anymore," she said. "It's between different versions of what humans might become." Then Elena was gone, leaving Sarah alone with questions that would haunt her dreams. The global shadow government exposed. The year was 2009 when something strange happened in the mountains of Romania. A discovery so powerful that it caught the attention of people who prefer to stay hidden. These are not ordinary people. They meet in secret rooms where cameras are forbidden and reporters cannot enter. The Bilderberg Group gathers every year. About 150 of the world's most powerful individuals come together behind closed doors. Presidents, prime ministers, heads of banks, and media owners sit at the same table. What do they discuss? Nobody knows for certain. But when word reached them about the Bucegi Chamber, their interest was immediate and intense. Phone calls were made in hushed tones. Private jets landed in Bucharest carrying men in expensive suits. Government officials who had never shown interest in archaeology suddenly demanded briefings. Scientists found their research funding threatened if they asked too many questions. The chamber held something these powerful circles could not allow the world to see: ancient technology that challenged everything we believe about human history. Knowledge that could change how people view their place in the universe. Information that threatened the careful balance of power these groups had spent decades building. Documents later surfaced, showing unusual activity during those months. Bank transfers to Romanian officials. Meetings between world leaders that were never officially scheduled. Research projects suddenly classified at the highest levels. Scientists who had worked on the discovery found themselves reassigned to different projects in distant locations. The web extends far beyond the Bilderberg Group. Other organizations with similar power and secrecy showed equal concern. The Council on Foreign Relations sent representatives. Members of the Trilateral Commission made quiet inquiries. Even religious leaders from various faiths held emergency meetings to discuss the implications. But why such extreme reactions to an archaeological find? The answer lies in what the chamber revealed about human origins and capabilities. Technologies that could revolutionize energy production. Historical records that contradicted established timelines. Evidence of advanced civilizations that existed when humans were supposedly primitive hunters and gatherers. These revelations threatened to shatter the foundations of modern society. Economic systems built on scarcity could collapse if unlimited energy became possible. Religious doctrines might crumble under new historical evidence. Political structures designed to control populations could become obsolete if people discovered their true potential. The shadow government moved quickly to contain the situation. Media coverage was limited and carefully managed. Scientists signed agreements that prevented them from sharing their findings. Government officials implemented new security measures that restricted access to the site. The Bucegi Chamber had exposed something these powerful groups desperately wanted to keep hidden. The question remains, what other secrets do they guard so carefully? Lost civilizations and alien legacies. The holographic displays inside the Bucegi Chamber began revealing their most guarded secrets. Scientists watched in stunned silence as images flickered to life, showing civilizations that existed long before recorded history. These weren't primitive cave dwellers, scratching pictures on stone walls. Advanced cities stretched across the screen, filled with beings who looked almost human, but not quite. Their technology made modern computers seem like children's toys. They moved through the air without machines. They communicated without speaking. Most shocking of all, they seemed to be working on something that looked disturbingly familiar. DNA sequences floated in the holographic space like twisted ladders of light. The beings were changing them, piece by piece, adding something here, removing something there. The scientists realized They were watching genetic experiments on early humans. But these weren't random changes. Someone was upgrading human DNA with purpose. The modifications appeared designed to enhance intelligence, extend life, and awaken abilities that most people today would call impossible. Yet the process seemed incomplete, as if the work had been suddenly abandoned. The records showed similar patterns across different time periods. Advanced visitors would arrive, make their changes, then disappear. Each time, powerful groups would emerge to hide the evidence. Libraries burned, artifacts vanished, witnesses stayed silent. This pattern repeated throughout history like a broken song. Ancient texts from Egypt, Mesopotamia, and India all hinted at the same story. Sky gods teaching humans secrets too dangerous for ordinary minds. But whenever these teachings spread too widely, they would mysteriously fade away. The Bucegi Chamber held proof of what many suspected but could never prove. Human development hadn't followed the simple path shown in textbooks. We were the product of deliberate intervention by intelligence far beyond our own. The most unsettling discovery came from comparing ancient DNA samples with modern ones. Certain genetic markers appeared suddenly in human populations with no gradual evolution. These same markers matched nothing found in nature on Earth. Romanian officials found themselves holding evidence that rewrote human history. But as they studied the data, strange things began happening. Key researchers received visits from unmarked vehicles. Files disappeared overnight. Phone calls warned of consequences. The pattern was starting again. Just like in ancient times, powerful forces moved to bury the truth. The Chamber's revelations threatened beliefs that entire civilizations had built their foundations upon. What scared them most wasn't just what the holographs showed about the past. It was what they suggested about the future. If the experiments were incomplete, would the visitors return to finish their work? And if they did, would humanity be ready for what came next? The enigma remains. The silence in the Romanian mountains holds its breath. Years have passed since whispers first emerged about the Bucegi Chamber. Yet every question spawned 10 more. Every answer dissolved like morning mist. Picture yourself as a detective, holding puzzle pieces that refuse to fit. Some edges match perfectly. Others seem cut from different puzzles entirely. This feeling haunts anyone who seeks truth about what lies beneath those ancient peaks. The documents that surfaced tell wild tales. Secret meetings between world leaders. Ancient technology that defies everything we know. Chambers filled with holographic records of lost civilizations. But where are the photographs? The video evidence? The witnesses who will speak on camera? Government officials smile politely when asked. They shake their heads with practiced patience. Classified information, they say. Or simply, no comment. The Romanian military guards its secrets like a dragon protecting gold. Yet something happened in those mountains. Too many people whisper the same stories. Too many details align across different sources. Too many powerful figures suddenly change their schedules around the same time period. Consider the impossible physics described in the reports. Energy fields that bend reality. Walls that show moving pictures from the distant past. Technology that responds to human thoughts. Science dismisses these claims. But science once dismissed the possibility of flight, atomic energy, and space travel. The human mind craves certainty. We want clear answers, black or white, true or false. But the Bucegi Chamber exists in gray shadows where certainty dissolves. Perhaps this mystery reflects a deeper truth about our world. How much do we really know about our past? How many secrets hide behind classified stamps and official denials? How often do extraordinary discoveries remain buried beneath layers of bureaucracy and fear? The Chamber's story forces uncomfortable questions. What if ancient civilizations possessed knowledge we have lost? What if world leaders make decisions based on information they cannot share? What if our understanding of history contains massive gaps? These questions disturb our comfortable assumptions. They suggest that reality might be stranger than fiction, that truth might be more fantastic than any fantasy. The Bucegi Mountains keep their secrets still. Wind howls through the peaks, snow falls and melts and falls again. Somewhere beneath that rocky silence, chambers may hold answers to questions we have not yet learned to ask. The mystery endures because some truths resist easy capture. They slip between our fingers like water. They hide behind walls of classification and skepticism. They wait for future generations who might possess better tools for understanding. Until then, we are left with whispers in the darkness, questions without answers, possibilities that both thrill and terrify. The chamber remains a riddle wrapped in stone, guarded by silence, and touched by wonder.